Hello, my name is Eleanor Barkla.
Hi, I'm Malik, and we're going through our script notes for script notes.
This is the opening monologue of I Want to Be Yours, and the way we approach this in the beginning of creative development is actually allocating the lines to each character because it's not clarified in the script. So you'll see there are little H's and E's that dictate who says what, and it's a real introduction to the show, to these characters, and sets up that this is a show that includes poetry and imagery and but doesn't give too much away.
So the first thing that, when we kind of get our scripts, I went through this thing called DOS. D stands for dialogue, O stands for objective, and S stands for subtext. So on this first page as well, Hasib's meeting Ella for the first time. He's not saying straight up, "Oh, I think you're beautiful." He's saying, "Oh, can you give me the tongue twisters?" But the subtext underneath there is like, "Wow, who are you? Can I get your number?" And so that's the subtext I've written there for myself.
You'll see on the third page at the top, there is a number, the number 3, and a little title that says New Favourite Tongue Twister. So because the text is written in the way it is, it's divided up into these little scenes or vignettes or what we refer to as beats to keep us organised and keep the story really clear and the narrative moving through. We give each of them numbers and each of them titles as well. And the title is usually derived from a line in the scene.
And that's really good to have, like having the beats in any script, because when you're in the rehearsal room, you know what you're talking about when somebody says, "Let's go back to number 3 or number 7.
There was something like 79 beats throughout the whole script, so it's quite the marathon. The first thing I do, generally with a notebook as well, is I question everything. Every line of dialogue I say, or even other characters say, is always a what and a why. So what is happening here? Why is it happening? Questioning enables me to kind of get a clearer shape and colour of the overall script and what is happening. And there doesn't necessarily have to be answers. You sort of start opening up all these little avenues or paths that you might go down later.
I'm a very visual person, so sometimes there'll be like sketches of what I think the scene might look like in my head. In this particular scene, we are at a workshop, and so I've kind of drawn that, and I've been to acting workshops a lot in my life, so I could visualize what that might look like. And I've also written the steps as well for the movement about this dance that we're going to do. So we worked with our movement coach, Johnny, and Johnny explained what type of movement, almost like orbiting planets. So you'll see planets as well in my script kind of orbiting each other.
On the top of page 2, I've written, you can get your character and your humanness in there early on. And what I meant by that is that in this show, there's a lot of direct address, and sometimes you can have a tendency to make it feel very presentational or very much like a narrator energy. This was written as a reminder to myself that these people are human, and even with direct address, not just with addressing other characters, you're allowed to let their humanness and their idiosyncrasies and their habits and their wants and their giggles and their mistakes and their desires come through in all of that text, because the audience deserves to get that part of them too. And it actually establishes this beautiful relationship and this warmth that's really required in a direct address text. Also accent-wise, we worked with our dialect coach, Geraldine Cook-Daphne, and she spoke a lot about specifically this Yorkshire accent, about the tone of launching. So Ella's accent is very at the front of the mouth. It's very clear. It's very direct. We spoke a lot about the idea of really driving an accent home. And I think it's really important in the initial scene because we're establishing with an Australian audience that we're going to be sounding a little bit different. And we ask you to please come along with us on this journey.